Hello, I'm Michael Coliani, the Public Affairs and Media Relations Director for your Arizona Game and Fish Department. And today on Arizona Wildlife Views, a look at how a specialized tracking system from the Middle East is helping the department better understand bat behaviors. Plus, traditional dove hunting in Arizona, only this time it's happening a lot closer to the valley than in Yuma. And later, a far west town's got a new chance to do a lot more fishing, courtesy of one of Arizona Game and Fish's generous partners. We've got all this and so much more today on Arizona Wildlife Views.
Arizona Wildlife Views is brought to you by the sale of hunting and fishing licenses and the Heritage Fund, lottery dollars working for wildlife. Some projects made possible by the Sport Fish and Wildlife Restoration Fund.
Now we know that southern Arizona is filled with birders who track bird migrations all year long, but a Tucson biologist is using a new wildlife tracking system developed in Israel and never before used in the United States. But he's not tracking birds, he's tracking bats. Video producer David Major shows us how the Arizona Game and Fish Department, along with its partners, are using a new technology to track these nocturnal little creatures.
Hummingbird feeders, as you would expect, attract hummingbirds. But on summer nights in Tucson, Arizona, they have another visitor.
My name's Kurt Frazee. I live here on the north side of Tucson, and we have a lot of bats that come by. The nectar-feeding bats arrived around August 1st, the lesser long-nosed bat, and they'll be here until October, at least they were last year. So they've been coming every summer, and they empty my hummingbird feeder every night.
I'm Carol DeAngeli. I've lived in Tucson for about 28 years. And so the bat researchers are here. They're going to put up mist nets and try to capture bats. And yeah, it's really cool. I'm happy to be part of it.
I'm fascinated by this, so I'm just delighted to be part of the study.
Another bat.
The study is focused on the lesser long-nosed bat.
Nice. It's a very gentle bat. It's a very charismatic bat. And it has really interesting behavior.
Ted Fleming has been studying these bats for decades.
And there's still so much we don't know about this bat.
We do know that each spring a large number of lesser long-nosed bats fly from Mexico to southern Arizona, where females give birth to a single pup.
It migrates up to 1,200 kilometers to get to the maternity sites here in Arizona.
They feed on nectar from the flowers of columnar cactus like saguaro and organ pipe.
And then they show up in town, visiting hummingbird feeders.
It's a chance to capture and learn more about them before they fly back to South and Central Mexico.
Do a lot of moving around.
Well, the project is to get detailed information about the foraging behavior of these bats using this very sophisticated Israeli Atlas tracking system. Nobody's used this system here in the United States before.
The Bat Lab at Tel Aviv University pioneered methods of using the Atlas system to track bats. Graduate students from the university are assisting Ted with his research. Their work is funded by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service.
It takes a lot of money to fund a project like this.
And thanks to people like you who value wildlife and conservation, Game and Fish is contributing to the research as well.
Ooh, nice, nice.
Your gifts through azwildlifehero.com help a lot because Game and Fish gets zero tax dollars from the state's general fund.
And the Conserve and Protect funds have gone to purchase most of the supplies required, so the transmitters and the stations and computers and hummingbird feeders.
These tiny radio transmitters make this project possible.
First of all, it can be used on very small animals because the tags are really small.
Happy with that placement?
Like our tags that we just put weighted 0.8 grams, so we can put it on a small bat, which wasn't possible in the past.
They glue the transmitters to the bats' backs and wait for the glue to set before releasing them. The transmitter battery lasts about a month and the tag will eventually fall off. But first, it emits a radio signal that can be picked up by a small network of receiving stations.
And they've been flying all the way west.
We put up 10 stations here in Tucson, Arizona.
So we're looking at one of the big antennas that we put up in people's backyard. And whenever it picks up on a bat, it sends the data to a computer, and that will send it to us.
And so having 3 greens gives us a localization of the bat.
When at least 3 antennas detect a bat simultaneously, the Atlas system can triangulate and pinpoint its location.
We can get the accurate location in real time.
We're basically getting a really distinct path of the bat.
That's what's most exciting about the Atlas system. It can show the actual flight paths the bats are taking and help researchers answer some questions.
Are they foraging together? Are they visiting the same sites every night? Or are they more explorative? That can tell us a lot about decision-making, learning, navigation.
All right, Mama. We want to infer the foraging decisions that these bats are making. And knowing that is gold, because that's hardly ever known for any bat species.
By collecting DNA, they hope to learn if the bats traveling together are related.
And then we have these hummingbird feeder plots that we're putting out.
Yeah, and one of the things that's pretty rare in science is to be able to manipulate, especially in field work and biology, is to be able to manipulate the food source. So we have 16 total hummingbird feeders at each of the 3 sites. And what we're looking for here with the video monitoring is for bats to discover these. These have not been placed here before. And so, yeah, we're very curious to see when they first figure out that the source is here, and then how quickly they adapt to incorporating it into their nightly plans.
We've put transmitters on 42 individuals, and they've been trapped at about 6 different sites.
To get an accurate location of the bats, we need 3 base stations at least to pick up the bat, to be able to triangulate the location of the bat.
Unfortunately, that hasn't been happening across the entire study area.
It worked in a small part of it, which is really awesome, just not in the whole area that we were studying.
Had a Zoom meeting with our Israeli colleagues yesterday, plotting out our next strategy because we know what the results are, or the lack of results.
The team is making adjustments, moving antennas and collecting the best data it can before the bats fly south.
This season is going to be very informative. It won't give us quite the data we wanted, but it's going to give us some interesting data nonetheless.
And when the bats return to Tucson, they'll be ready.
We're going to give it another try next year to get the kind of data that we really want. You got a detection there? Yeah. Okay.
Still ahead on Arizona Wildlife Views, we'll share how one of the nation's fastest growing cities is the place to be if you want to get your dove on. And later, we'll share an easy, tasty recipe brought to you by the Arizona Game and Fish Department family. But first, a look at how one of the department's frequent conservation partners teamed up to bring the joy of fishing to the people of Gila Bend.
Over several weeks last summer, a group of hard-working volunteers joined Arizona Game and Fish and the Arizona Deer Association and went to work to do something good for the town of Gila Bend.
Bender's Pond, where we're standing now, was a very small little pond here. It was so small, it was only 4 feet deep. And they stocked it with fish for the kids to come, but they would die out every summer because of the heat. It was only 4 feet deep. And the Arizona Game and Fish Department came to Arizona Deer and asked us to help expanding this pond to over an acre and to be a part of the community fishing program through Game and Fish. And so we worked the town of Gila Bend Arizona Game and Fish Department, Arizona Deer Association. We partnered, and all the funds for this project have been raised from the community. We've had ranchers donating beef to sell, and all the bentonite that you see here. We're going to have 250,000 pounds of bentonite to apply, but that was all donated from the Redmond Minerals Western Clay up in Utah for the project. So we had a local church give $5,000, you know, to help with the fuel costs and stuff for the heavy equipment. So it's been truly a community project.
When Jim approached me about the project and I heard about it, I was all in. I mean, not just because I live here in town, but it's recreation, and it gives something extra to the town of Gila Bend. I really think that to give kids a destination besides a basketball hoop and a playground where they can think and grow and learn how to be a better person would be, I think it starts, I know it sounds silly, but it starts with fishing.
You know, it brings a fishing opportunity that wasn't here beforehand. With fish getting stocked in it, you know, it becoming something that people can come to and fish year round. It provides a place for families to hang out. I think before this, the closest body of water that wasn't a canal was over an hour away.
For all of these organizations to come out and actually make this pond come true, I cannot be more thankful. So thank you.
Dove opening day in Arizona. One of Arizona's best kept hunting secrets lies just west of Phoenix in Buckeye. Robbin's Butte offers great hunting opportunities where mourning and white-winged doves are plentiful.
The access is great. We didn't have to even take our truck. We can drive our van out here, and there's a lot of great habitat for the doves.
It's our second opening year out here. It's really great. We like it. It's very well maintained. There's always a lot of fun. Lots of birds. Lots of people to run into and talk with.
It's a lot of fun. It's very easy access. Arizona Game and Fish has done a great job. It's a beautiful facility.
Went pretty good. Lots of birds, lots of kids out. It's kind of nice to see people out with their families.
Awesome. Limited out in about an hour and 15 minutes. Birds were flying everywhere. Great day.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Arizona Game and Fish has been collecting opening day data on doves harvested at Robbins Butte for decades, a task that would not be possible without hunter participation.
Doves actually fly all the way from the Dakotas all the way down to Mexico, so it is very key that hunter participation really aids us in management of wildlife in Arizona.
So if you're looking to get some hunting in before heading to work,
It's not too far of a drive. You can honestly take the freeway like all the way here, so it's super nice. It's very convenient.
A 15-minute drive from historic downtown Buckeye.
or you're just looking for a new spot to hunt,
Come out here, get your limit, go to Cafe 2535 and clean your birds, and then get a great breakfast or lunch.
and see what Buckeye has to offer.
Hi, my name is John O'Dell with the Arizona Game and Fish Department. Now that you got all of those great doves at home, let's go ahead and show you how to cook them up. Here's a really simple recipe. It's a 3-ingredient barbecue sauce. We're gonna cook with 2 tablespoons of the gochujang red pepper sauce, 2 tablespoons of your favorite honey, and then 4 tablespoons of toasted sesame oil. We also are gonna use a 1/4 cup of green onions, as well as just kind of a sprinkling of some extra sesame seeds on top. Now I'm going to show you how to spatchcock your birds using the palm of your hand and a cutting board. So we're just cutting right alongside the backbone here, all the way from pelvis up through the neck, and comes right out. So I'm just laying it here on a cutting board, so I can get my palm right there on the center of that breastplate. and just push down. It'll hopefully break it just a little bit so it all sits flat. Now we'll put this really low. So we're going to baste the sauce on the skin side of the birds. That toasted sesame oil that's in this sauce starts to work exactly as an oil would if you were oiling the grates, and help prevent it from sticking. So your grill doesn't really require any preparation for this method. All right, so onto the coals we go. Remember, skin side down first. Then we're gonna come back right over here on the backs here and hit it with some more of the sauce. More sauce is always a good thing. You're gonna start getting some of that toasted sesame smell from the oil, but you just let it go. You don't want to end up going too long because of the honey in there. The honey will actually burn and cause it to blacken up. So once it kind of starts making that turn to where you can start smelling a little bit, you don't want to smell it strongly, but just kind of the first hint that you might have like burning sugar or burning honey, that's going to be a good indicator to flip. So we'll get these up here. And then we'll finish them with a little bit of these green onions. Green onions are always good. And then just a little sprinkle extra sesame seeds. And you're set. Legs are my favorite piece on a dove. You know, hunting the dove is actually harder than cooking them. Worth every minute.
Today we are doing a survey for the paged Springsnail. That involves a time count, so we can estimate a catch per unit effort, or relative abundance, as well as doing a habitat assessment, determining what are its critical components as far as habitat, and then also to look at instantaneous or observable threats. The paged Springsnail is one of our smallest wildlife species in the state. It's not much larger than the size of a sesame seed, so about 2 to 3 millimeters in size. Springsnails are a good indicator of clean water quality and suitable habitat for a lot of other macroinvertebrates for these type of spring environments. They were found here in the Camp Verde, Page Springs area probably in the 1980s, and so they're fairly recent as far as what we have been able to document. This species occurs on 10 sites within hatchery grounds, plus 2 other locations off-site on other private property. It's protected under a conservation agreement. The conservation agreement is an entirely voluntary, non-federal agreement that we work with Fish and Wildlife Service and landowners, in this case, commission properties here in the hatchery. And so we are able to manage and monitor those species to their benefit without having any type of federal restrictions on the Endangered Species Act. Paged Springsnail does not have any federal status under the Endangered Species Act, but it is identified in Arizona as a species of greatest conservation need. And that is part of the Game and Fish Department's process and effort to identify species for management priority around the state. They tend to be those that are rare or at risk, or potentially could become rare or at risk into the future. So Springsnails on a whole are pretty rare in the state. Some of the primary threats to Springsnails are the loss of groundwater, and that actually is a larger problem for a lot of fish and wildlife in the area. But the paged Springsnail doesn't require a lot of water. Other major threats include invasive species such as the New Zealand mud snail. Another threat is the invasive Himalayan blackberry. It can encroach upon the spring habitat and shade out the area that the Springsnails are found in, and that will reduce the amount of food that is available to the Springsnails. We've been very lucky in the last 20 years in reversing the trends of with the Page Springsnail. We were able to maintain all of our extant populations that were here at the time that we took ownership of this hatchery. We've been able to increase their numbers and abundance within the populations by doing some habitat modifications. Bass House is one of our success stories. That was an extirpated site more than 50 years ago that had a wooden shed over the spring head. We were able to replace that wooden shed with a chain link enclosure, so that allows more sunlight into the spring. And then after replacing the pipe leading from the weir box, which still had a remnant population of the snails were able to recolonize the spring head by coming back through the pipe and then occupying that habitat within the spring itself. And over the years, we've been able to watch as that population grew from dozens to hundreds to thousands. And now it's at a very good state. We're hoping to replicate the success of Bass House at other extirpated sites by reducing threats and then being able to reintroduce the snails. Arizona is unique. It has a wide diversity of species for mollusk, about 200 native mollusk. And that does include spring snails, a lot of land snails. We don't know a lot of information about a lot of those species, just there hasn't been enough work done on those. But we're hoping to change that by getting more survey work done, more monitoring of populations that we've detected, and working with landowners, land managers, to manage those species appropriately under a voluntary state conservation agreements and state conservation plans. But in the meantime, we're still actively monitoring and managing the species. So nothing really has changed in that regards. We're still holding true to our conservation commitments.
If you're enjoying the show, please visit our website, www.azgfd.gov.
In 2016, the city of Phoenix began banning dogs from hiking trails once temperatures reach 100 degrees outside, and it's usually already too hot out for your dog when temperatures are in the 90s. But northern Arizona offers plenty of hiking trails in cooler weather. Before going on your hike, it is important that you bring the right gear for you and your dog. Most importantly, bring plenty of water. Make sure your dog is wearing a collar with their ID. Bring a leash and check which trails require pets to stay on a leash. Also be sure to pack a first aid kit, doggy bags, sunscreen, a hat and sunglasses for yourself, and dog booties for hot and rocky trails. Researching what kind of terrain and wild animals are found around the trail is another important safety step. Don't forget to check the weather before leaving and let someone know where you are hiking and when you plan to get back. The Horton Creek Trail is an out and back trail in Tonto National Forest and is a popular route for dog owners. This hike is about 7 miles round trip and is great for seeing a variety of flowers and birds. The trail follows along Horton Creek, providing hikers with creek access for the majority of the trip. The trailhead is located about 3.5 miles down the road from the Arizona Game and Fish Department's Tonto Creek Hatchery. And in addition to hiking, catch-and-release fishing is also allowed on the creek. Basin Trail is a 4-mile-long, out-and-back hike located across the highway from Sunset Crater National Monument. This trail winds through an aspen forest and Flagstaff's San Francisco peaks and is perfect for seeing a variety of plants, birds, and other wildlife. Also keep an eye out for bears and mountain lions. People have reported seeing them in the area. Located just off Highway 89 near Prescott, Arizona, Constellation Trail is a 2-mile loop with several alternative routes within it. Named Named for a military plane that crashed in the area in 1959, the paths take hikers through shaded forests and Prescott's famous granite dells. During the summer, this hike showcases an abundance of different plants and wildlife, especially various species of snakes and butterflies. Heading north is a great way to escape the heat and stay active with your dog during the summer. As one of the most biodiverse states in the country, there's plenty of scenery, plants, and wildlife you can encounter while hiking Arizona's trails.
That's going to do it for this edition of our show. Until next time, get out there and enjoy those Arizona wildlife views.
To subscribe to Arizona Wildlife Views magazine, which includes the Arizona Wildlife Views calendar, visit www.azgfd.gov/magazine.